Star Wars 7 by 7 episode 2880. All right, it's the last Obi-Wan Monday leading up to the premiere of the Obi-Wan Kenobi series on Friday, and I've got a couple of thoughts about that, just random stuff, but other stuff that follows on our discussion of magazine cover stories and a couple little details that we hadn't yet talked about that I wanted to make sure I closed up. Punch it. Hey Rebel Rouser, I'm Alan Voivod and this is Star Wars 7 by 7, your daily dose of Star Wars joy. And thank you so much for joining me for it. So if you're catching this podcast during the day on Monday, the 23rd of May when it's published, then you may be catching it while I am in the air on my way to California for Star Wars Celebration. I was supposed to be flying out on Sunday, but my flight was mysteriously canceled. Don't know why. And the thing that my wife, who's known on the podcast here as Brainstormer Lonnie, suggested possibly that was because of COVID and staffing and that sort of thing. And I have to say, it is a little nervous making, I mean, so far I haven't gotten any cancellation stuff for the Monday flights, and I had received cancellation, by this time for the Sunday flight from when I'm recording this now in the afternoon on Sunday. But yeah, it's a strange thing to be going to this thing, and a strange thing to be, going amidst what seems to be another surge in COVID. I did look at the CDC's website, and it was saying that we're in a medium transmission state here in my own county in New Hampshire, but it's in a low transmission situation in Orange County where the convention is. So, I mean, that seems just surprising, especially considering that I'm just tucked in a little corner of, a very non-populated state by comparison. And yet, apparently, the transmission's higher here than it is in one of the most populous counties in the whole country. But I guess we're going to try this. We're going to give it a shot, with masks on and distances social in theory, I guess, because they did take the guidance down off the site where they had initially said no hugs and no handshakes. But I guess hugs and handshakes are allowed now. I don't know. But we're just going to all do our best and hope for the best, I guess. And if you see me at Celebration, I will be wearing a Star Wars 7 by 7 polo shirt every single day I'm there. It's got a big Star Wars 7 by 7 logo on the chest. So if you see me, please say hi. That'll be the best way maybe to identify me beyond the mask. I would love to say hi to you and catch up. And I'm also going to be walking around with copies of my Force Awakens trivia book to hand out as well. So yeah, I hope I get to see you there at Celebration. And speaking of Celebration and the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, I know that we had been talking here on the podcast about how, there are movies in development, and it would be fantastic to learn more about these movies at Star Wars Celebration. It seemed like it was only right for something like that to happen. And now, we don't know. I mean, there was that cryptic comment from Kathleen Kennedy in a magazine interview where she said that they expect to announce something more about movies in a couple months, which would have lined up with Star Wars Celebration based on when the interview was conducted. And that Friday panel spot, the headline panel for Friday, had been open for a while. It seemed like a movie thing would go there, but, the more I think about it, the more I think that considering the Obi-Wan Kenobi series is debuting with 2 episodes on Friday, it almost makes more sense for it to be, something about the ILM documentary, because, documentaries don't necessarily fire people up the same way that new storytelling fires people up. I mean, just being honest and not a knock on anything. And so all of the chatter, all of the talk, all of the social media stuff is going to be about the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, and anything about the movies I think would get lost in that shuffle. It seems like it would just be a waste of that kind of media opportunity for it. So it really, in retrospect, makes perfect sense that they're going to be having a documentary thing on Friday, because that won't, that won't get lost in the Obi-Wan Kenobi talk. I mean, there will be its own social media stuff about it, its own chatter, but definitely the Kenobi thing is where Lucasfilm is really going to want all the attention to be. And then the other thing I wanted to flag circling around to these cover stories that have been happening has to do with the High Republic era and the coming series, The Acolyte from Leslie Headland. There's some conversation about how potentially the High Republic situation and everything that spawned it, like Project Luminous, Luminous specifically, like that whole thing was developed not just as a publishing initiative. We knew that was the case, but we also knew that if it was going to be successful, that it would grow beyond that. But they were kind of specific in talking about that as a platform for developing new live action content, that they set out with the intention of creating live action space, eventually leading to from developing this High Republic content situation. So specifically, they are looking at publishing as a way to potentially jumpstart new live action projects, but not in the sort of, well, let's adapt a book and make a live action project out of that kind of situation. They're looking at it more as a global multimedia kind of storytelling situation. And that, of course, makes me wonder about what the next thing is going to be, what the next Project Luminous is going to be, and could we find out something about it at Celebration? Might we get the very first hint of something like that? It's probably not going to involve the Project Luminous authors, right? Claudia Gray, Justina Ireland, Charles Soule, Kevin Scott, and Daniel Jose Older, because they are still deeply enmeshed in what's going on with the High Republic, even though they've got more writers coming in on it. But the next thing is bound to be out there, bound to be in the works. And I'm hoping we get to find out what that's going to be at Celebration Anaheim, amongst all the other awesome reveals that are going to happen. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. It's 3 days until Celebration, and there's a ton to look forward to, and I hope I get to see you there. So that's where I'm going to leave things for today's episode of the show. I wish you safe travels if you're going to Celebration, and if you're not, then please stay tuned, because I've got a ton of content that I'm going to be sharing with you when we get there and get through it. So it just remains for me to say thank you so much for joining me for this episode, as always, and may the Force be with you wherever in the world you may be.
7x7 is not endorsed or sponsored yet by Lucasfilm Limited, Disney, or 20th Century Fox, and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Star Wars, the Star Wars logo, all names and pictures of Star Wars characters, vehicles, and any other Star Wars related items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Lucasfilm Limited, or their respective trademark and copyright holders. May the Force be with them. All original content is copyright 2021 by Star Wars 7x7. We hope you love it.